Your Honor, I didn't want him sleeping with nobody.
She told me herself that she was that age.
She didn't even speak to me and found out I was
wouldn't
pregnant
even speak
because
to
she
her.
thought I was just a fling.
Because my son goes through women like toilet paper. I did not want to speak to her.
Because he had access to my cell phone.
That didn't come from cell phone, baby doll. It came from the messages that you sent me on Facebook.
Exactly, access to my Facebook, which is downloaded on my phone.
I'm not an NBA player. I'm not a movie star. Anyways, regardless of that, she's always making accusations that I'm a deadbeat, I don't pay my child support payments.
The last
that you
6
can
months,
see, I've made all my payments except for that first 8 months.
Here we go. It's showtime with the case of Alston versus Holmes hitting the courtroom floor. Ms. Alston strides in, claiming Mr. Holmes might be her biological dad instead of the man whose name's been chilling on her birth certificate all these years, Mr. Alston. Mr. Holmes is shaking his head, totally not buying it, betting all his chips that the DNA test will shout, "Not the father." This courtroom drama is just getting started.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Alston versus Holmes.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Good day.
Ms. Alston, you've come to court to prove to the defendant, Mr. Holmes, whom you first met at the age of 15, that you are his biological daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Alston drops a bombshell right out of the gate. She brings us back to her teenage years at 15, telling us a story about how she grew up with Mr. Alston's name on her birth certificate, believing he was her real dad, all while Mr. Alston was out there signing checks for child support. Strap in, folks. It looks like we're in for a wild ride through family drama lane.
You say her biological father is David Alston, the man who is on her birth certificate and paid child support for her. Ms. Alston, tell us how you first found out the defendant might be your father.
Well, Mr. Alston and my mom were married, so as a child.
Mr. Holmes jumps into the fray with some spicy details about his fleeting flings back in the day, casting major doubts about his role in this parental plot twist. He tells a tale of casual encounters and forgotten follow-ups, suggesting he was more of a cameo in Ms. Alston's mom's life than a main character. Buckle up, because this paternity puzzle is only getting more tangled.
He was like fast, and because I met her at the school bus stop. She was in high school. 2 days later, after I met her, I had sex with her. I called her again a couple days later, asked her to come back, and we had sex again. So it was kind of like a booty call. Yeah, I didn't know nothing about her until 15 years later.
Ms. Alston lays her heart on the line, sharing how she felt ditched by Mr. Alston despite the legal documents declaring him dad. On the flip side, she talks about how Mr. Holmes' family welcomed her with open arms, doubts or no doubts. There's enough emotional baggage here to fill a cargo plane, and we're just starting to unpack.
What was your relationship like with Mr. Alston? Explain that.
Your Honor, I hate to say this, but I hate him. I do, because he abandoned me and left me.
So when you say Mr. Alston abandoned you, did you try to have a relationship with him and he rejected you? How did he abandon you?
I tried to have a relationship with him and spend time with him. He wouldn't have time for me. I would visit his family members and he wouldn't be around.
Enter Mr. David Alston, the man on the birth certificate, looking as shocked as a cat in a bathtub. He's been in the dad zone for years, totally clueless that there's been any question about his paternity. Oh boy, this is getting juicier by the minute. Don't touch that dial.
I think it's time we meet Mr. Alston. Jerome, will you please escort him in? This is the man on your birth certificate?
Yes.
And you tried to have a relationship with him?
Yes, I just wanted to be loved.
Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to have you explain to the court. She was told for the first 15 years of her life that you were her biological father, and then all of a sudden she was given another name. What do you know about it?
15 years ago? No, I just found out now.
So you're saying that up until recently, you still considered her your daughter?
Yes, that's my daughter.
Hold your horses, folks, because the DNA results are in. Drum roll, please.
Mr. Alston, you are not Miss Alston's father.
Why'd she do that?
Lord Hammers.
The courtroom buzzes into action as the judge firmly instructs everyone to sit down. The episode kicks off with the judge calling the court to order and greeting everyone warmly. The case Luce vs. Zuniga is announced, involving a somewhat quirky dispute over childcare expenses. Just when you think you've seen it all, this case comes along.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello, Jerome.
This is the case of Luce versus Zuniga.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Ms. Luce, you are suing the defendant for $2,716.86 back child care expenses for your son, Marley.
There's a definite spark in the air as Ms. Luce takes the stand. The plaintiff, Ms. Luce, confidently claims she is owed $2,116.86 for back child care expenses by Mr. Zuniga, the defendant. She asserts, without a shadow of a doubt, that Mr. Zuniga is the father of her son, Marley, and firmly dismisses the need for a paternity test. Brace yourself, because Mr. Zuniga's comeback is a doozy.
You're certain he is your baby's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Zuniga, you say you don't owe her a dime because because you're not her son's father. You've petitioned the court for a lie detector test and a paternity test because not only are you not his father, but you claim to know who his real daddy is.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Mr. Zuniga counters Ms. Luce's allegations with a bombshell, vehemently denying paternity. He demands both a lie detector test and a paternity test, claiming he knows who the real father is and is certain it isn't him. It's about to get even spicier in this courtroom drama.
The court will reveal the results of the lie detector test and determine if a paternity test should be ordered. Why do you feel like Mr. Zuniga has completely abandoned you and your son?
For the first 4 months of my son's life, he was there. He stepped up. He was a man. He wanted to be his father. He was excited about everything.
Cue the emotional music. Ms. Luce recounts how Mr. Zuniga initially stepped up as Marley's father and supported her, only to abandon them later. She details the financial burdens she faced alone, covering every need from diapers to clothes, making it sound like a one-woman army on a shopping spree. Stick around. The plot thickens.
He abandoned us. I had to take care of my son alone, on my own. I had for every little bit of the expenses, all the diapers, all the wipes, every single piece of clothing he needed. I have the receipts here. I've had to do it all alone, and I feel as if he owes me at least half of the money that I've had to put into raising my child alone.
As Mr. Zuniga tells his side, things take a turn for the melodramatic. He admits to initially showering Ms. Luce and Marley with his tax refund, but claims he stopped due to doubts about his paternity. Ms. Luce acknowledges his contributions, but emphasizes that they were short-lived and insufficient. The courtroom is simmering with anticipation for what's next.
Have you helped at all with Marley?
Yeah.
Any money, any financial support?
Well, yeah, I did. At first, I spent all my tax money. Last year, I got substantial amount, and I spent every dime on him. I didn't spend one dime on myself.
Ms. Luce, true, has he given any money?
He might have put money into a crib. He might have put money into the little things he needed then, but he didn't do anything else after that.
Mr. Zuniga dishes out some serious drama. He voices his doubts about being the father based on Ms. Luce's past relationships and his own tragic medical history, suggesting his sporting injuries might have left him sterile. The courtroom is hanging on every word, wondering where this telenovela will twist next.
Well, I found out that she never really stayed in relationships long, and that she liked to jump from guy to guy.
Ms. Luce, were you sleeping with other men when you were sleeping with Mr. Zuniga?
No, I did sleep with a few men after, but I was only sleeping with him when we were together.
Okay,
but
Mr. Zuniga, do you have any other children?
No, ma'am. I've always thought I was sterile. Putting the long relationships aside and trying to have, kids with them and consulting doctors. Sports, I've had a lot of sports-related injuries.
Just when you thought it couldn't get more dramatic, Mr. Zuniga accuses Ms. Luce of cheating, specifically with a man who apparently matches their son's physical traits. This allegation, based on neighborhood gossip and his eagle-eyed observations, really stirs the pot. Watch out for the audience's reaction. It's priceless.
That thing's probably still broke right now.
Oh, so you believe she was going over to this other gentleman's house and he wasn't a brother figure, he was really...
There's this one instance where this lady came up to me and she told me that while I was with her, she was cheating on me the whole time with her husband. And he looks just like the father, red hair and blue eyes.
The judge chimes in with a reality check, questioning the wisdom of their fleeting and unprotected liaison. Ms. Luce is gently scolded for potentially living up to her last name, hinting at a reputation she might not want to acknowledge. The audience is all ears, eagerly awaiting the next twist in this saga.
As far as I know, she could have been pregnant before I even got with her.
Why are you young people running around having unprotected sex with people you knew for 2 weeks? Ms. Luce, you worrying me now. Because, no, you're a beautiful young girl, and I don't want you living up to your last name. So, Ms. Luce, you brought a witness today. Who did you bring?
His mother.
Jerome?
In a surprising twist of events, Mr. Zuniga's mother, Ms. Vertigan, takes the stand and sides with Ms. Luce. She testifies against her own son, supporting Ms. Luce's claims with observations about family resemblances and shared medical histories. This family feud just got a guest star, and she's not holding back.
Your Honor, I didn't want him sleeping with nobody.
She told me herself that she was that age.
She didn't even speak to me and found out I was
wouldn't
pregnant
even speak to her.
She thought I was just a fling.
Because my son goes through women like toilet paper. I did not want to speak to her. But Your Honor, if you look at those pictures, their eyes look so much alike, and they have the same features, the dark circles. My grandson was born with jaundice. My son has a muscle spasm in his eye.
Brown hair.
My grandson has a muscle spasm in his eye.
A pivotal photo is displayed, showing Mr. Zuniga holding the baby, a stark contradiction to his claims of non-involvement. This visual evidence sparks a heartfelt discussion about the emotional stakes involved. The audience can't help but lean in as the emotional roller coaster climbs.
So if you signed the birth certificate, that I would presume that you thought it looked like.
Babies don't look like nobody when they're born.
sorry.
We have in the monitor a picture of you holding the baby.
Well, I'm not a jerk, Your Honor. I didn't have a dad.
You agreed to give him your last name.
Yes.
I didn't give him my last name.
This
She
is
did that
important.
without my
Hold on.
consent.
Yes, Ms. Vertigan, what you need to say.
He was so upset we couldn't make it. He was mad. He was throwing things around in the house. He was upset we couldn't leave right then and there to watch his son be born because his dad wasn't there.
Buckle up for the lie detector results. The lie detector test suggests Ms. Luce was not entirely truthful about her exclusivity with Mr. Zuniga during their relationship. This bombshell leads the judge to order a paternity test to conclusively settle this soap opera. The courtroom holds its breath for the grand reveal.
Has been determined by this court, Mr. Zuniga, you are his father.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Kristen, you say you're sorry. You tell him you're sorry.
But look at him.
You tell him you're sorry. Look at him. Maybe that's yours.
But you lied.
Okay, but look.
I may
All right,
have
we're
lied
getting over that.
compared to
We're getting
whatever
over that.
test says it. He is your son.
The courtroom buzzes with suspense as the case of Stanley versus Williams is announced. Everyone's settling in, Jerome's on point as usual, and the courtroom rituals kick off.
You may be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Stanley versus Williams.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone.
Ms. Stanley drops a courtroom bombshell, claiming Mr. Williams is definitely not the father of her son, Ryan Alexander. Despite their past fling, she's betting all her chips that today's paternity results will back her up. Everyone's leaning in, wondering if the DNA will spill the tea.
Miss Stanley, you have dragged your former fling, Mr. Williams, to court for a paternity test. Prove he did not father your 3-year-old son, Ryan Alexander. You admit to being intimate at the time of conception, but say today's results prove your son does not have DNA.
Mr. Williams fires back with passion, arguing that little Ryan Alexander means the world to him. He throws shade, suggesting Ms. Stanley is just trying to edge him out because there's a new guy on her scene. The courtroom's heating up with these spicy allegations.
You say baby Ryan Alexander is the most important person in your life and claim the only reason Ms. Stanley is doubting that Ryan Alexander is your son is because she has a new man in her life and doesn't want you around. Is that true?
That's correct.
Here's where the plot thickens. Was it love or just a fling? The air gets tense as the nature of their relationship is dissected. Mr. Williams thought wedding bells were in their future, while Ms. Stanley labels the whole thing a colossal error. Eyes are popping as the story unfolds.
This was more like sexual type kind of relationship.
Loser relationship.
I never loved him. It was a mistake.
Your Honor, excuse me, she's wrong with that one. She's a liar.
What? How did you see the relationship, Mr. Williams?
She had us planned out getting married. She had us planned out get the cake. She had us planned out get I was taking her kids back and forth to school almost every day. I've done everything for her and them kids.
Enter the evidence. Done, done, done. Mr. Williams' Aunt Mary steps up with some juicy texts about marriage plans, which Ms. Stanley swears she never sent. It's a he said, she said showdown, and the courtroom is here for it.
Jerome, will you hand me that proof?
This here is where she was texting me off of Facebook, asked me if I was Chris's aunt, and that they were gonna get married, and she wanted me to do the wedding because I am a community chap. And I told her, yeah, and she asked me how much would I charge. I told her nothing because it's my nephew, wanting somebody to try to use.
So this is a message, a text message from Miss Stanley?
Yes, ma'am.
Chaos erupts, voices are raised, and the judge has to hammer down for some order. Aunt Mary isn't just here to watch. She's got photos claiming Mr. Williams and Ryan are practically twins. Grab your popcorn, folks. It's getting wild.
I don't care.
If that was his son,
just like him out, but
understand you raised him as your son, and you're here today, and everyone is going to get an opportunity to present their case. Ms. Combs, you did say that at some point Ms. Stanley told you he was the father of Ryan Alexander. Is that true?
She's always told me since the boy was born that it was his. There was not a question that he belonged to somebody else.
Just when you thought it couldn't get more tangled, another message surfaces. Ms. Stanley allegedly praising Mr. Williams as a fab dad. She's calling foul, suggesting some Facebook foul play. The plot thickened, the courtroom riveted.
And so this is another message you say Ms. Stanley sent you. He is really good with my kids and Ryan loves his daddy. Ms. Stanley, did you send this message?
No, Your Honor, I did not, because he had access to my cell phone.
That didn't come from cell phone, baby doll. It came from the messages that you sent me on Facebook.
Exactly, access to my Facebook, which is downloaded on my phone.
Mrs. Stanley admits to the hookup timeline with Mr. Williams, right around the baby-making window, but sticks to her guns about him not being the daddy. The layers of their relationship, or lack thereof, are peeled back, leaving the crowd buzzing.
You understand that,
Yes,
right?
He could be a potential father, but I do not think he is the father of my child.
So you're with the other man. How do you end up with Mr. Williams?
We met at my cousin's place. We were living in a trailer where Mr. Williams would come and visit with me. At that time, that's when I conceived Ryan Alex, is when me and my ex was split up.
Mr. Williams shares his side of the birth story, missing out because no one called him about the emergency C-section. It's a sob story that has the audience whispering. Will this sway sympathy his way?
No, ma'am, I wasn't, because for one, she wouldn't even call me to let me know she was having an emergency C-section at the hospital. I didn't know nothing about it the next day.
It's kind of hard to let you know anything, Mr. Williams, whenever I was put under sedation.
Let's not argue. Let's just get the facts. Did you not inform him on purpose?
I did.
You did. And why didn't you want him there?
Because I did not want him there, because he is very disrespectful. He cusses me in front of my children.
It's confession time. Mrs. Stanley thinks the other guy is the real dad because, well, they were more of an item. The judge is all ears, and so is everyone else. This paternity puzzle just keeps building.
Do you think he's the father?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Why do you believe that?
Because I had slept with him more than I slept with Mr. Williams.
You're a liar. You're a straight, low-down liar.
You feel like this man has a greater probability of being the father because you slept with him more often?
Yes, Your Honor.
Plot twist with a dash of heart. Mr. Jennings, the current beau, steps into the spotlight, ready to dad up regardless of the DNA. He's been playing dad for 2 years, and he's not stepping down now, no matter what the test says. The courtroom nods in approval.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Williams, you are not his father.
The courtroom is buzzing with anticipation as everyone takes their seats. The court session kicks off with the judge, fondly known as Your Honor, briskly calling the session to order and warmly welcoming everyone, including the somewhat bemused defendant, Jerome. They're diving into the intriguing case of Clary versus Asinato. Oh, the drama that awaits.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello, Jerome.
This is the case of Clary versus Asinato.
Thank you. Good day, everyone.
Ms. Clary strides confidently to the podium, her heels clicking on the courtroom floor. She's ready to throw down the legal gauntlet, petitioning the court for a paternity test to nail down Mr. Asinato as the father of her son Gage, who apparently has a shopping list of medical needs. She's also here to claim a cool $15,000 in back child support. Buckle up, this is about to get as spicy as a courtroom drama can get.
You are petitioning the court for a paternity test to prove to the defendant that he is the father of your son Gage, who has multiple medical needs. You say Mr. Asinato owes you $5,000 in child support, and you demand he pays you what he owes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Enter Mr. Asinato, who looks like he's ready for a showdown at the OK Corral rather than a courtroom. He firmly disputes any responsibility for payments, vehemently claiming there's no proof he's the father, and boldly announces he's armed with bombshell evidence to prove his point. He's planning to hit back with a legal vengeance and get that $15,000 child support claim wiped clean. The plot thickens, and you won't believe what's coming next.
You say there's no reason to pay any money for a child that you know is not yours, and claim to have bombshell evidence to prove that you're not the father. You state that when you return home, you'll go back to court to have the $15,000 you owe erased from your record.
The judge, keeping the courtroom in check, dives straight into the gritty details. She grills Mr. Asinato about his daring move to sign the birth certificate, which pretty much pins him down as the dad in the eyes of the law. He explains with a mix of regret and disbelief that he was tricked into signing it under the impression that Gage was his mini-me. Oh, the intrigue. And just when you think it's all clear, the twists keep coming.
No way that I owe $15,000 on a child that's not mine.
He signed the birth certificate.
She's basically roped me into signing a birth certificate for a child that she told me that was mine and has taken me to court for child support. I've paid almost $15,000 in child support.
So you admit you do owe the child support?
Not on a child that's not mine. No, ma'am.
As they unravel their tangled history, it turns out Ms. Clary and Mr. Asinato weren't just neighbors, but got quite cozy while both were on a break from their respective spouses. They kicked off their complicated love saga under the same roof, with divorce papers still warm from the printer. This backstory is more tangled than last year's Christmas lights, and there's more drama around the corner.
Tell me about the first night you all were intimate. How did this relationship begin?
We were hanging out next door. We were all friends, drinking, watching movies, and everybody left except for me, and one thing kind of led to another. He made a pass at me. me. And
so you began a sexual relationship?
Correct.
How long did it continue before you found out you were pregnant?
That was in 2007. My son was born in 2011.
Oh, 4 years?
Exactly.
So you all were living next door to one another for 4 years?
No, ma'am. That's when we first met.
Ms. Clary sets the record straight about her living situation when Gage entered the world, countering Mr. Assanato's claim that they weren't shacking up when Gage was conceived. It seems their timelines are as mismatched as socks from a dryer. Hold on to your hats. The revelations are just heating up.
Well, she said that when her son was born, she was living with you. That was right.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're saying is when her son was conceived, she was not living
No,
with you.
ma'am, she was not.
You don't know if she was sleeping with someone else or not?
I do know for a fact that she was with somebody else.
Oh, what do you know?
I know Crystal. Crystal was married when she came to my house on the first night.
But you
slept
know,
with
Your
me.
Honor, gentleman he's talking about, while we were not together, I was dating somebody else, and we split up 2 months prior to me getting pregnant with my son.
Just when you think you've heard it all, their relationship status gets even murkier amidst a fiery exchange. It's revealed that their so-called fling stretched over 8 tumultuous years. Mr. Assanato paints it as a casual affair, while Ms. Clary insists it was anything but casual. This romantic roller coaster has more loops than a theme park ride, and the next dip is a doozy.
Your Honor, we've never been together. It's just
But yeah, we got
basically
8 years together. We lived together multiple times.
So wait, let's get to the birth. I want to get.
Yes,
He was
ma'am.
You
at the
say
hospital.
after found out she was pregnant, you wanted to do the right thing.
I did.
You had her move in.
Yes, ma'am.
When Gage was born, you were living together.
Yes, ma'am.
So
She moved into my house.
did you go to doctor's appointments? Did you
No, he
support
did
her
not,
through
Your
this?
Honor.
Did you go to the hospital when Gage was born?
I did.
He was at the hospital when the baby was. My son was 5 weeks premature and 7'5".
Mr. Assanato pulls out his financial receipts, showing off his child support payments like they're badges of honor, except for those pesky 8 months he was jobless. He laments the financial strain, likening his payments to those of an A-list celebrity rather than an oil field worker. The financial saga is just part of this wild rage, so strap in as the money matters get even messier.
He paid
Jerome,
it
will
when
you
it's
please pass me
convenient
Mr.
for him, Your
Assanato's
Honor.
What is
Now
this
we can
evidence
tie back up
pertaining
This is
to
all my payments that I've made except for the 8 months that I've been out of work. The first
4
year
months.
I was at my job working in the oil field, it was $1,026 a month for one child.
Your Honor,
I'm
I
not
was
an NBA
paid-
player.
I was paid
I'm not a movie star.
$123.
Anyways, regardless of that, she's
Because
always
he
making
quit his job.
accusations that I'm a deadbeat. I don't pay
He
my
is a
child support
deadbeat.
payment.
The last
That you
6
can
months,
see, I've
because
made
I got
all
it
my
tied back
payments
up in
except
court.
for
The
that
last
first
year, I
8
got it
months.
back.
Now, the court takes a sudden detour into medical territory. Mr. Assanato throws a curveball by questioning the paternity based on Gage's slew of health issues, which seem alien to his family's robust gene pool. This medical mystery adds an unexpected layer to the paternity puzzle. And guess what? It gets even more complicated.
When did your doubt set in and why?
Gage had a lot of medical problems when he was a baby. He had colic, he had ear infections, he had multiple. He had
2 weeks in the
infections.
hospital. Mr. Assanato never once showed it. He called maybe twice the 2 weeks.
I have a 20-year-old son. My son's never been sick. My son was born at 9 pounds, 8 ounces, okay? This child
My
was born
son-
at 6 pounds. My
son
son's
was
never
5
been sick.
weeks
We don't have
premature and
any of these
7'5".
sicknesses in my family.
Things take a scholarly turn as thalassemia, a genetic condition affecting Gage, takes center stage. This rare condition common in people of Mediterranean descent, hint, hint, Mr. Assanato, thickens the plot. This genetic cliffhanger is setting us up for a revelation that might just rewrite the entire script.
Your son has a medical issue that he deals with called
Thalassemia. It's an inherited, it's a genetic blood disorder, and it comes from people of the Mediterranean.
You brought evidence to explain that,
of
Jerome?
Mediterranean
Please hand that to me.
descent. Todd is full-blooded Italian.
What evidence is that? She prints it up off of online?
And this is what I do.
Thalassemia.
We're all of a sudden, my son's not his. When we're getting along, he loves his son. That's his son. Or the child support. That's the whole issue.
Evidence says that thalassemia is an inherited blood disorder.
In a modern twist, Ms. Clary pulls out a smartphone app to prove genetic resemblance, claiming it shows Gage as a chip off the old block, Mr. Assanato. He scoffs at the digital evidence as if it's a badly photoshopped meme. But don't put your phones away yet. This techno drama is dialing up to a climax you won't want to miss.
My son looks just like me.
Last December,
and, last I checked, I was his mother. See, that's my how can you not love that baby? A friend of mine sent me an app to try it. Shows you the comparison, how much Gage looked like Todd whenever he.
What is this app?
You pull up the parents, it does a comparison. And it shows he looks like he has so much.
So you submit photos, you put them in this app, and then the app will calculate the percentage of likeness. This one determined that Gage looks 68.3%
of me.
As emotions surge, the true victim here, little Gage, is caught in the crossfire of this adult drama. Ms. Clary tearfully argues that the ongoing dispute is shredding her son's sense of family and security. It's a heart tugger, folks, and just when you think it's all about the adults, it's the kid who might just teach them all a lesson.
Regardless, Your Honor, this is what's
the only thing is our son is the one that's suffering. The only reason I agreed to this is because my son is 4. Now he wants to do this because of child support.
I don't want to do this because of child support. I want to do this because of medical.
You know, he waits 4 years. My son is 4. My son knows him. That's his daddy. Gage knows him as his daddy.
And this is really upsetting to you because you feel that it's about money.
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't believe it's about Gage.
Yes, Your Honor, exactly.
As the legal eagle lands, the judge lays down the law about the consequences of signing a birth certificate. It's not just a piece of paper, it's a lifetime subscription to parenthood, complete with monthly payments. The courtroom is thick with anticipation as we gear up for the grand finale.
When it comes to 4-year-old Gage Asinato, Mr. Asinato, you are not his father.
I did not sleep with anyone else. I slept with somebody 2 months prior.
Miss Clary, you had me convinced.
Your Honor, it was 2 months before.
We say in this courtroom, plaintiffs lie, defendants lie, but the DNA doesn't lie. It doesn't.